Good evening. Welcome to American Hammers TV. First Sunday night show of the decade. January 5th, West Ham Week in Review. It was a pretty good week. Sully and I were just talking about this before we started. We're expecting Liam from Fresno to be on with us tonight. Hopefully he'll be on at some point. If not, you can listen to Sully and me chat for the next hour or so. Sully has not been with us for a couple of weeks, so welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. Happy New Year to you and everybody in the chat.
Happy New Year to you. Sully is a hardworking member of the U.S. Air Force, so always we appreciate your service. I do absolutely nothing for this country. So somebody has to. I'm glad it's you. Anyway, so before we get started, let's do a couple of things we always do. Check out our new website. Have you looked at it yet? I haven't even looked at it yet.
I haven't looked at it yet, no. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's really good because Alex from Mississippi put it together, and he's good at stuff like that. So AmericanHammers.net. AmericanHammers.net is a new website. There should be a link to our scarves on there if you want to buy a scarf. If there's not, you can always go back to AmericanHammersTV.us. I forgot the address of the old website already. Check out AmericanHammers.net. Check out our scarf link there. We're still selling scarves. They look fantastic. Beautiful claret and blue. I did not bring mine up to the attic with me tonight, but anyway, trust me, it looks great. And we still have ahtv.threadless.com out there with all the West Ham, American West Ham stuff you could ever want, plus Russian, Brazilian, Chilean. I don't know. You can get a Merrimack Valley West Ham shirt. You can get a Fresno Irons, I'm sure, probably has one. I don't know, Philadelphia. I see Wally on Philadelphia and Katie too, both from Philly. Neil from Australia is on, and you can probably get an Australia shirt too. Anyway, so check that out if you don't mind. That'd be great. I feel as though there's something else I'm supposed to say. Oh yeah. So evidently, we have reached 1,000 subscribers.
Oh yeah, that's great.
Yeah, just awesome. Which Tim and I sat here on Google Hangouts about a year ago. We started at the end of January, right at the end of the transfer window, so the end of January. And Tim said, that he wanted us. He was talking about the numbers he wanted us to collect, and he said we needed 1,000 subscribers, and we could start to get sponsors and do some different things for the channel. I said 1,000 West Ham fans in the U.S. You're crazy. There's probably not more than 200 of us,
Yeah.
But then we went to Premier League mornings in Boston at the end of March, and there must have been like 100 West Ham fans there alone, And we started meeting people from all over the country and now from all over the world, and we realized that there are tons of fans. And we've got 1,000 people who've signed up, so we really, really appreciate that. We want to say thank you so much. And whatever we're able to raise money-wise, we're going to use to put back into the channel so that we make better productions. We're going to try to upgrade our production system here. We're working on a couple of different tools, looking at a couple of different tools. I know Wally's helping us. Alex is helping us. So we're moving forward on that. And maybe someday I'll replace my brother-in-law's old MacBook. You'll be able to hear me and see me better. Although maybe you don't want to see me better. That's probably not a bad thing. Hear me better anyway. That's probably the best thing. Here he is. All right. I was just going to introduce everybody, and there he is.
Nice
timing.
Good timing.
From Fresno, California, Liam, who was a little bit late, but that's okay. Joining us. Oh wait, what's happening? What's that? What's going on? What is that? What's that?
This is my one claim to fame.
Dude, are you gonna sue us for playing that on?
Oh God, no! That was the only. That's probably the only time that song's been played in the last 5 years.
Is your record company going to sue us?
No, that one was actually self-produced. That one was.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, the only record that we did that was like fully done by a label was the last record in 2010. But all the other ones we self-produced and re-released one on a local label. But I was like a co-owner of the label, so I kind of like did it myself.
So that is your band. That was Honor Bright. And,
yes.
And I'll tell you what, you guys are really good.
Thank you.
Or were, I guess.
Yes.
You moved on to bigger things, of course, being on American Hammers TV.
The majesty that is this. Yeah.
Hey, we got 1,000 subscribers. We were just talking about it. We got 1,000 subscribers, so it's a big number. Yeah. Hello to Isaac, a tastefully named gentleman named Isaac. That is also my older son's name, so always good to see that. Just put my little guy to bed. So anyway, so Sally's here and Liam's here, and that's all of us tonight. Whoops, got Wally saying hi to Isaac too. I guess it's been a pretty good week to be West Ham. Sally and I were just talking about this, Liam, before we came on. David Moyes comes out. We win 4-0 against Bournemouth. Could have been 5 or 6. He puts out a full strength starting 11 basically for the Gillingham match, which we needed. We needed the whole starting 11 for that game, which didn't surprise me. But look, we won 2-0. We're moving on in the FA Cup. He says he wants to win the FA Cup. He put out a full strength side. That's what we want to see, right? That's what we want to see. So you guys give me your impression of David Moyes' first week. Does it boost your confidence in him? Do you feel better about him? Or are you still skeptical? Or are you just waiting for things to go full West Ham and go absolutely tits up here in the next couple of weeks?
I'll go first.
All of them?
Can we start with Sally? Can we start with Sally? Because he's been here in a couple of weeks, so we'll start with Sally.
So I mean, it's great. Get the team. I get you could see they have a little bit of a pep to their step, but at the same time, as me and Lee were saying beforehand, I'm not going to put too much into the Moyes effect just yet because it was against a half decent Bournemouth squad. Half their team is pretty much on the injured list, and then obviously we're playing a League One side in the cup. Now, granted, I would have put out a full strength team as well because it was pretty much a week from our last game, so there's no reason not to.
Right.
So I mean, I'm happy for it. They were going to bring out their top guns, and anything can happen in the cup, especially when you play on the road to these teams who have literally nothing to lose. Yeah. So I was happy to see that, but we'll see. I mean, the Sheffield game next week is going to, I think, say a lot to the confidence of where the team is at right now. A game that I do think we can win. It's going to be tough, but we'll see what Moyes can actually do in that one.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a test for him. Just there's a bit of a honeymoon period here. What were your impressions, Liam?
No, a lot of the same thing. I thought that he got Bournemouth 100% right because, with Pellegrini, we would have gone in that game and won, and it would have been a 1-0. You know what I mean? The fact that fact that Moyes goes in completely balls to the walls, just lumping numbers forward, making sure that. We weren't just trying to sit back. I think a lot of us anticipated him to play a deeper back forward, not park the bus, but more of far less of that midline offside trap bull crap that Pellegrini kept trying to play,
which just killed us over and over again. I thought. Well,
when you are constantly relying on Declan Rice to have to make that 40-yard dash to clip a defender and hope that he's not going to get carded for it. I mean, you're setting your guys up for failure.
Well, you got Pablo Zabaleta in a high line. I mean, he can't get there. He's just not. He can't play everybody on side because he's not fast enough.
Yeah, but arguably one of the paciest wingers in the league. Like, yeah, that's setting him up for a good afternoon. So, I mean, honestly, I thought Moyes got Bournemouth 100% right. I would have preferred to see him do a 4-4-1-1 in this one, as opposed to trying to implement a 3-5-2 so close off the back of that Bournemouth, because he's not allowing the players to build confidence in those positions. I mean, now you've asked, you're running a back three, but now you're asking Fredericks to still play the overlapping winger, but now the expectation is him to drive even further back because he's been caught so far out of position, and you can't expect that back three to be able to pull apart and close down that side to still have that same pace. So I think that's ultimately why we saw the injury to Fredericks. But I mean, honestly, power to him. Like we what was it? 75th minute, we finally get the goal in what was a poorly refereed match. I thought that the fouls that were being called were very one-sided, that it was very much here's the big bag Premier League team. Let's make sure that they know I'm not going to take any gruff off of them and let the poor little, League Two side get away with literally everything. I was so frustrated.
Wasn't the referee, wasn't it, who was it?
It was that dude's older brother. What's his name?
wasn't it the guy who was on the podcast with Brawley and Tony?
I think so. Yeah.
I think it was him, wasn't it? Something Manly.
Yeah. No, it's his brother. It's his.
Oh, it's his brother.
Yeah. That guy no longer does Premier League games, but his brother does. And I think this one,
okay.
Yeah, this
Okay,
one was
so
his brother.
Because I have to say that was a good podcast they did when they had him on a few months ago.
Well,
so
he
it's
gives
his
a lot of good insight, and he won't pull punches just to protect the referees, which is important.
that's
I think
true.
it's important, but I think that this game easily, especially in that second half, we could have been up 3-4. By the same token, Gillingham almost slammed one in, but luckily it took the bounce off the crossbar. But that would have been so West Ham, right? We finally get the goal, and then 30 seconds later they get an equalizer. So.
Yeah, well, he was offsides for that one. I mean, it was nice that it hit the crossbar too, but yeah. No, it was the game today kind of went exactly how I was expecting it to. First half, just I don't know, team trying to figure each other out, just trying not to let the other team score essentially, but not doing too much in the attacking side on themselves. And then second half, I think that's when, you'll see the Premier League sides kind of pull away from the lower leagues. You would like to think. Yeah. I mean, crazy enough, I don't know if anybody saw, but Liverpool put out pretty much their U16s today and beat Everton 1-0, which is insane.
Yeah.
But,
the old legendary Liverpool manager, what was his name? I'm kind of going to remember his name. Somebody will tell me in the chat. The old legendary Liverpool manager from the 60s and 70s used to say that the two best teams in Liverpool are Liverpool and Liverpool Reserves.
Yeah.
That was his shot at Everton. And today was actually true. The two best teams were Liverpool and Liverpool Reserves. So he wasn't wrong about that today. But, well, it's funny. A lot of people said, well, that's disrespectful of the FA Cup, which is a competition that's come under so much fire in the last 20 years since Manchester United skipped it back in 2000 to play the World FIFA Club Cup, whatever it is, Liverpool just played. But, I mean, it's their club and they know what they're doing. And, they went out and won. So I can't really fault them for it. But I thought the way the match went today was not unlike what I expected. As you guys said, it didn't surprise me at all that we didn't score in the first half. These lower level teams are always going to play a very defensive style and they're going to be up for it. They're up for it. They're at home. 10,000 people in their little ground,
You saw the guy that had climbed the fence and was just shouting at the players from the touchline.
That's what I mean. Is for them a win or even a draw in this game, even if they had drawn and lost the replay back at London Stadium, that would have been one of the great results in their history. They would have done that for years and years and generations, right? So, I mean, to me, it didn't surprise me at all that they were tough. They were organized. And we needed a basically full strength starting 11 out there to get the win. The only shock to me was that Zabaleta scored the opening goal.
Both substitutes. The substitutes come in and score. Like, when's the last time that happened?
I read today it is the first time he's ever scored a goal in English football as a substitute.
Wow. It was his first FA Cup goal too.
And it was his first FA Cup goal and his first. I think it's his first for us, right? I think it has.
Yeah, first for us. Yeah,
first for us. So a lot of firsts. But no, it didn't shock me at all. And I actually, these FA Cup games, it's like the NCAA tournament, right? With basketball, survive and advance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you win by 20 points or 5 goals. It doesn't matter if you win by, a goal in the 97th minute and the 7th minute of injury time. You just have to win in advance. Form is not important. So we did the essential. I thought that was fine. I like everything David Moyes has said so far, and I'm trying not to be lulled to sleep or hypnotized by him because he's still not the choice I would have made. I think, we talked about that last week. But everything he said and done so far has been right. I mean, he wants to go for the FA Cup. He's shaken up our tactics through to the players, evidently. And, I think we would have lost that game under Pellegrini today. And the reason I say that is because we lost to Wimbledon and we lost to Oxford and we lost to another one. I can't remember who it was. 3 out of our last 4 cup matches, we were eliminated by League One competition.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's ridiculous to say Pellegrini would have lost that game today. Whereas Moyes, his players were very professional about it. But one thing that I want to circle back to with Bournemouth, and Sally and I were talking about this before we started. Great to win 4-0, but we're still sitting 15th and 2 points out of the relegation zone. How frustrated are you guys with the players right now? I mean, do you feel and maybe Sally, you could start because you mentioned it when we were on earlier before the show. I mean, where did this come from? This 4-0, our biggest win in the Premier League in like 12 years, I think. Is this just we're so glad to be rid of Pellegrini? And I mean, why couldn't they play like that, a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, no, it is frustrating because, as we were saying, regardless of who the coach is, well, I shouldn't say regardless of who the coach is, but the thing that was frustrating was they went out and played like that after, weeks and weeks of, oh, we love Pellegrini, this and that, he's the right guy, but you're still going to come out and have poor results, whether, it came down to who was in goal or whoever the case may be. But, it's like you guys are getting paid to play football at the end of the day, like, why don't you come out and put this performance in every week? So I don't know if it's too much the effect of Moyes specifically. Maybe the way he allowed them to play. Not to say that Moyes didn't do anything, because obviously he did. But the thing that was interesting too is, you even had a report in midweek where Noble picked up the ball in the middle of training and he was like, "Why are we training like this?" Or he had questions about it, and he kind of confronted him, which is obviously not what you want to hear during training of a manager's first week. Obviously he's been there in the past, but
Sure. Yeah.
But I mean, now this is the standard now, regardless of what they did in the past and who the manager was. Like, this is the bar. You put 4 up against a weak side. Well, now all the other weak sides you have to do this against, or at least put in the shift. Then it wasn't just one half. This was a full game. Like, easily the best game we've played all season outside of, possibly Norwich and Manchester United, and even Chelsea, so we just have to keep doing that moving forward.
I didn't think we were great against Chelsea. I thought Chelsea were poor and they put out not their best 11, and we were basically sort of resilient against Chelsea. I thought this was a much better played game overall, even though it was against a weaker team. I mean, yes.
Yeah, it's the best game we played all year, hands down.
Exactly. I feel the same way. And I think, I don't think Pellegrini was capable of having a team win a game 4-0 at all. No. And I am cognizant of the fact that, as you said, Bournemouth have a lot of injury problems. They're a weak team. But you know what? David Moyes went out and beat the sainted Eddie Howe that everybody wanted, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the,
it's not even that he beat Eddie Howe. Everybody's beating Eddie Howe right now. And it's they haven't won for like 4 or 5 games or even longer than that, probably. And I know a lot of it comes down to injury, but at the same time, I mean, I didn't out of the options that were given, I didn't want Eddie Howe either. I wanted somebody new, fresh blood, kind of the new eyes to a situation, and I wanted Kovac. I would have preferred him. He's won and he's worked with Haller, and I think you would be able to get a bigger draw of bigger name players with Kovac than you would with David Moyes. But we'll see what happens. As long as we keep winning, I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, I was all in for Scotty Parker, of course, because I love Scott Parker. You guys know that. Or somebody of that, somebody of that kind of in that category, a young, hungry manager who knows the club, knows the game. And I do think we're going to end up with that, when Moyes is done with West Ham. But I obviously want Moyes to succeed because I want us to succeed. Liam, what did you think about the players suddenly waking up for David Moyes? Are you frustrated with them?
No, not so much. I mean, I get it because it's the same kind of idea as, if you're at work, right? And if you've got a boss that absolutely sucks, it doesn't matter how good you are as a worker, you are going to be unmotivated to do what you do day in and day out. And everybody always want to say like, oh, these guys get paid, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Like they need to suck it up and do it. And it's like, it's great to say that, but it doesn't matter if I'm making minimum wage or if I'm making a high wage. I'm not looking at that when I'm stuck with the same idiot day in, day out that's driving me crazy. My motivation's going to drop. My will to want to pursue, my will to win is going to be sapped. My strength is sapped at that point because so much of your mental energy is exhausted going, why is this the person we're listening to? Why is this the person that is above me that is giving me the directions? And especially with, Mark Noble saying, what are we doing? Or the fact that they didn't, it's come out recently that they weren't even playing set pieces or, tactical runs. They literally were playing 11v11. And that's what it looked like out there. It was just a skirmish, a scrimmage every single time. And I think with Moyes, I think he is, if nothing else, he is a good motivator. So, like we've
I
said,
think
he gets in front of the press. He says all of the right things.
Yeah.
The comments that came out for the Bournemouth game that he pulled Anderson aside and said, "What are you?" And he's like,
Wonderful.
Brazilian. And he's like,
absolutely wonderful.
Okay, but Brazilians score goals. So what are you? Like the fact that he says that kind of shit is the kind of stuff that these guys realize, like, okay, this isn't Pellegrini. This guy's not going to mess around. And, I think that we will see, see a boot up people's ass. I think this is what's going to get these guys motivated. So as much as I was not in favor of the Moyes return, if you will, I also think that unlike an Eddie Howe, maybe even unlike a Kovac, Moyes is going to come in with something to prove, as we've seen, because he needs to show that those 18 months that were allocated to Pellegrini should have been his. And he's going to show why this next 18 months, he wants that contract extended. This guy doesn't want to go back out into limbo. He's at a club that he actually enjoys being at, and he wants to make sure he can continue to foster his style, if you will, like what he brought to Everton for those 10 plus years. I think that's what he wants to do at West Ham. And I mean, he's not a young buck. He's not a 30 or early 40-year-old.
He's not ancient. He's not ancient.
And that was my problem. Like, I don't know if people remember, but when I kind of laid into Wayne a little bit, it was because he wanted Redknapp, and Harry Redknapp's 75.
Redknapp's he's in the celebrity game show phase of his career.
Yeah. I'll see him on Hollywood Squares. I don't need to see him on the touchline.
I would watch him on Hollywood Squares, by the way. Is that show still on TV? Hollywood Squares?
I don't think so. I'm sure it's under.
I don't think so.
Some revival game show BS. But I mean, ultimately,
I love Hollywood Squares.
Right? That and like $25,000 pyramid or whatever. At the time, it seemed like so much money.
Oh, okay. $20,000 pyramid. Okay. Do you guys remember? I got to tell this. I got to say this for a second. You remember the setup of $25,000 pyramid, right? Where at the end there'd be two people, and they'd have these categories, and you're supposed to guess what the categories were referring to. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, one person would give clues, and it would be like a microwave, a stove, a sink, and the answer would be like things you find in a kitchen. Right. You know what I mean? So if you got the answer before the time ran out, then you won your $25,000. Later $100,000. Well, Dick Clark was the host. Late Dick Clark was host of that show. And anytime somebody didn't get the answer, he would walk up behind him and start giving more clues.
Oh, no.
He'd be like, silverware. If he had done that to me, I would have kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah, right.
Dick Clark, get out of here. I just lost $25,000 or whatever it be after taxes. Don't come up and give me more. He was trying to be all sympathetic, and I would just been like, Dick Clark,
give you some more hints. No, dude, I've already lost.
I've already lost, Dick Clark. You were making $1 billion to be on the stupid show. So yeah, maybe just give me a moment here. Anyway, that's my $25,000 pyramid rant, and I think if I'd been a Saturday Night Live writer in the mid '80s, I might have come up with a good sketch based on that. That time, your go-to, unfortunately. But no, I think what you're saying about Moyes is there are a lot of things that we probably didn't consider, and one of them is that he was at West Ham, that he did get to know the fans, that he got to know the players, and that clearly, for right or wrong, the board had been in some sort of contact with him about coming back because he was brought back so quickly, right? I mean, It wasn't like they called him the day they fired Pellegrini and said, "Oh, hey, would you like to come back?" There had obviously been contact. It was so immediate. So I'm sure he'd been preparing himself, and he'd been watching us. So he came in knowing the club, knowing the fans, knowing the players, and he has not put a foot wrong yet. Now he will put a foot wrong. Yeah. We'll lose, and we'll get tonked, and we'll lose when we're not supposed to lose. If we go to Sheffield and we lose 3-0, which could happen, then the riot mob is going to be back out with the torches like on The Simpsons. You know what I mean?
I think it just depends on how you lose 3-0, though. Like if you lose 3-0, like how Bournemouth lost 4-0, then you're going to start seeing a lot of angry fans and stuff like that. Like, oh, this is why we didn't want Moyes to begin with. But if you lose 3-0 and those 3-0s are like all deflections, and maybe we had like, I don't know, a cross that was saved by a miraculous stretch or hit the post or something like that. I think if we put a shift in and lose 3-0, I think people will be a lot more comfortable with that than if we show up and get bumped.
I think you're right. I think that makes a lot of sense, and that is what we always say as West Ham fans: is we want our players to play the West Ham way. And if they put a shift in, we don't care if they win or lose. Right? I'm not sure that's always true, but there is some legitimacy to that. I remember when Zola, for instance, was at West Ham, and he did not win a lot. His winning percentage was very low, and we almost got relegated in his second season. But a lot of people liked his style, They liked his enthusiasm, and so they were kind of willing to like give him a chance because hey, we played attacking football. We didn't have the team to do it back then, but we played attacking football. And I think it's the same way with Moyes. I think you're right, Sally. If he plays a style and plays tactics that the fans like, even if we don't win every match, if we put in the effort and if the tactics are sound. And if we're going forward and not passing, playing crab football, as somebody called it on Twitter this weekend, where you're passing out, sideways, always sideways, or back to your center backs. If we're not doing that, I think he'll win some fans. I do, and I think he'll win some matches too. And I think that's the more important thing. Anyway, Liam, I'm sorry I interrupted you. I didn't know what else you were going to say about if you had any frustration with the players.
Oh yeah. No. I was just to kind of wrap it up. It's just, it's hard to, I mean, they're the easy ones to go to because it is their performance that's on the field. But, I try to equate it to how poor management has affected me throughout the years in any of the jobs that I've held. We started this episode off with playing my band. Ultimately, that was part of the demise, was that we had a management team and a record label that basically kept telling us like, oh, you guys are doing everything right, but we just can't get you the tours we want, or we just can't get you the money or this or that. Like there was always some sort of excuse, and like we're being told like, oh, we're doing everything right, we're playing the shows, we're doing great performances, but sometimes it's just not, it's not meant to be. So there's something to be said that if the management isn't there to help keep you motivated, to help keep you driving, to give you direction, I think ultimately that's the biggest piece of this, is that it felt listless on the field because there was no sense of no sense of direction.
That's what struck me more than anything else, is we looked tired under Pellegrini. We looked tired, worn out, unable and unwilling to do anything.
Confused.
Yeah, confused, tired, no communication, no organization. I just don't think the guy can handle it unless he has hundreds of millions of pounds to spend every transfer window.
That, and he wants the other teams to play to his tactics. He wants to just play his game, and everybody else has to adjust to it. Whereas with Moyes, we saw it. He made adjustments at halftime and said, "Look, you guys need to come out. This is I want to see you guys push more. I want to see you guys." Yeah, we held 62% of the possession or something in the first half. I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't.
No, we were garbage. That's the thing. We were terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Our possession was uninspiring. And I think
Pellegrini would have loved that, though. Pellegrini would have loved 62% possession. He'd have said, don't change a thing. Keep doing what you're doing. We'd have lost one ball.
And he would have gone into the post-game press conference and he would have said, I don't know if you saw the possession stats, but we won in possession. Cool, dude. Like,
and then he would have blamed the players and said, if I could have replaced them all, I would have. And then he would have said, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's wrong. That was my favorite thing about him. I don't know what's wrong.
Well, we win when we score goals and we lose when the other team scores more goals. Man, that's how all games
work. To win the game.
Right. That possession is always, it's crazy how it's such a false stat, because I remember, what was it, this most recent World Cup, where Mexico had beat Germany 1-0. I think they only had the ball 29% of the time.
Yes.
And their style honestly was to absorb pressure and counter, and that's how they scored. And then they won. Speed. Yeah, kill them with speed. Park that bus, but send a runner. Essentially is what they did.
The times that we have seen success for so many of the mid-lower tables is when they do. We're going to have a stoic back line that's going to absorb that pressure, and then we're going to be able to unleash wingers, or we're going to route one over the top. Hell, that's what Big Sam did. He played route one right down the middle, long ball over the top, long ball Sam, and that's how he kept us up. I mean, it's not attractive, but it's effective.
Yeah, and even speaking with that, with the wingers, sorry, real quick, just one thing I noticed today that I really liked was Masuaku and Anderson on the same side. It was really fun to watch, because I think they had a really good back and forth. And I know Masuaku and Anderson have both had up and downs all season, and I don't know if you could put much weight into it because it was against the League One side today, but they had a lot of good back and forth. Masuaku was making runs, they were overlapping each other, putting passes in, and I think it was really nice to see. And even on the flip side of that, I think today really still showed me that we need two up top, because there were times where you could see somebody want to put a ball in, but you got three people around the layer and you can't do anything, But I really, I really do enjoy that midfield that we had after the substitutions of what was it, Lanzini, Anderson, and Fornals.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can stay healthy and play good, keep him, because that is a very exciting, anything can happen at any moment. Yeah, especially now that Fornells, it's kind of came out of his shell and started playing. I think that's that's awesome. But yeah, I would like to see Masuaku and Anderson moving forward on the same side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I love Masuaku on the wing. I do. I love him going forward. I love him not as a defender. But I got a question. But now here the question arises now. Fredericks, he's not our favorite player. We know that. However, he played really well, I thought, against Bournemouth. Great overlap for the cross into Allaire. By the way, Allaire's goal was spectacular. Can we not just? Why are we not gushing over that we did over Andy Carroll's goal? And I'll tell you why. Because Allaire had a man on him. He was marked.
Yeah.
He was marked. He just flipped. He
boxed him out.
Did you see? Did you see it? Sorry to cut across you, Lee. Did you see the game today? So in the last 10 minutes, Allaire's totally back on defense, right? Because he's the tallest dude out there. So the ball that's heading him out. And there was one that it comes up, and he goes to clear it. It pops up, and he bicycle kicks it out, like just out of bounds, just like out of here. And
that's like, right. That's
we're watching the game, and Tex and I turned to each other. We were like, "Oh, I wish he had scored from that, like from the 18-yard all the way down. Just Zlatan clear the goal. It would have been next level." But no, I was impressed, man, because like he stayed up. One of my biggest complaints for Allaire this season has been that he drifts too far back in defense.
Yeah, he does.
But, he stayed up. He stayed how he's supposed to as a center forward. But then when we needed him, he pulled in Arnautovic, which was like, cool. You don't need me up top right now, but you do need me back here. And it was
right.
I don't think that's him going, oh, the light bulb went on. That's Moyes going, get back. I need you back here. It's directions.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think he's shown himself in the last couple of matches to be the type of player who will track back, which is something not all of our players were doing for a long time. But I've seen more of that in the last couple of games. So what do we do now at right back? I don't know the extent of Frederick's injury. He came off. We put on Zaba. Zaba scores, becomes the hero. I think we know he's not up for it in the Premier League on any sort of regular basis. So what would you guys do? Do you stick with the 3-5-2? Or do you go back to the 4-4-1-1? And if so, what do we do at right back? I think Ben Johnson's still injured. If Fredericks is injured, I mean, do you do the unthinkable? And when he comes back, you put Antonio back at right back again in the Slaven Bilic tradition, or what do you think? I have no idea. That's why I'm asking.
Go ahead, Liam. Oh, okay. Well, I think right now you deal with what has been working. So if it's kind of like not a false back three, but whatever he wanted to do today, maybe you try that. But I think you bring up Ben Johnson, because I'm pretty sure he's healthy, because he was in a U23 squad a couple of weeks back.
Good.
I don't think he re-aggravated anything. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. Anyway, you bring him up. Zaba should never start again against any competition. Bring him off, the bench for whatever. But Johnson up, maybe this is the perfect time to finally go out and purchase a right back.
It's what I think, and everybody talks about a box-to-box midfielder, and that's a big priority, and also another striker. But if I would buy a right back first, I really would. I don't think that's a gigantic amount of money to spend. I would buy a right back first. But But that's Liam, do you have any thoughts? If Ben Johnson's healthy, then I think he's a good solution. I know they played in one match last season, but he played really well against the eventual champions. So I don't know. Any thoughts, Liam, on what you would do?
I mean, you could probably keep the same 3-5-2, right? And you just swap Masuaku over to the right-hand side. So you're still playing with your three center backs. You plug Cresswell back in on that left. You put Masuaku over on the right. Anderson has played on the left and the right-hand side. So with what Sally had suggested before, you continue to build that chemistry, just stick it on the right-hand side, which ultimately is going to be attacking Sheffield's left-hand side, which may be good to pin those guys back in their own half, having to deal with Anderson and Masuaku. Especially because they're probably going to plan on having Anderson trying to defend Anderson from a central or from a right-hand side position. So I think that would still work. I gotta agree. I think you do need the two up top. And I think especially if you can have Antonio and Allaire up there, I think that definitely gives them a lot to have to deal with, especially if you do have Cresswell, Anderson, whether it's I honestly, I really felt like we were missing Mark Noble in that first half. I really think that we were missing bite and control in that midfield, especially against a lower level team that is going to come out to battle. Rice did the best that he could. He caught a freaking elbow to the eye, for his.
He was like Rocky Balboa out there, right? He got his eye burst.
Oh, it's all we had to start hiring a cut man. Like this is intense, man. I thought they were going to bring out the ice bucket with the little the rock there to
wait till we draw Millwall in the next round. That'll be
yeah, that's got to happen, right? Oh, that's got to happen.
Send our boys out with boxing gloves, then we'll be good.
It's funny because I remember last year we lost. What was it, Wimbledon? I think, and everybody was like, "Man, they're going to draw Millwall," and that's exactly what happened.
They did.
It's like that's the most West Ham thing to happen is you get bumped, and then the person that beat you, obviously, is playing Millwall. But no, one thing I noticed too, and this doesn't really have anything to do on the play itself. But speaking of Mark Noble not being in, obviously, I don't think he played the last game either. Because Rice was the captain against Bournemouth, correct?
No, it was Noble was in there because remember Noble scored the 2. He scored a brace.
Oh yeah,
Rice was captain against Leicester.
Yeah, it was.
Oh okay, that's right. Yeah, okay.
Last game against Leicester, yeah.
Well, I guess even with that even being said, he wasn't the captain today, which was kind of interesting to me. Ogbonna was captain, which I mean I don't think that there's any real locker room. Feud over that, but it's just one thing that I thought was. Do you think there might be anything behind that? Like, why not give it to Rice again, or maybe Ogbonna just? I think Ogbonna's earned it. I'm not saying he shouldn't have the captain's armband, but just something I noticed is pretty interesting.
I obviously love Declan Rice. I said last week, and I'll stick with this. I think he's too young to be captain. I think he's too goofy. He's a great player, but he's a goofy young guy. What is he? 20, 21? Is he 21 yet?
Yeah, still a kid.
I think he's still 20. He's still a kid. And, as great a player as he is, as consistent as he's been, his form has dipped a little bit here recently, although I think it's gotten better in the last 2 games. But I wouldn't make him captain. I'd go with Ogbonna. Of course, I think Ogbonna was did he play against Leicester? There was a reason we had to.
I think Diop played. Yeah, I don't.
We sat him because the games were too close together.
That's right. We sat it. We had a real crisis against Leicester in terms of who would be captain.
Because Ogbonna, Cresswell couldn't play because of yellow card accumulation. He sat Ogbonna and Noble. Partially, I mean, it could be because of the little argument that they had. But yeah, I mean, we lacked bite in that game, and you could very much see it. And honestly, I kind of thought with this one, that first half, I would have loved to have had Noble, and then I would have subbed him off for the second half, and then you throw your pace in. I think Fornals continues to impress, man. Like the goal today, well taken, especially in a crowded box under pressure. I mean, yeah, he was making the late run in for it, but easily he could have pinged that off of one of the defenders like Lanzini had done mere minutes before then. So
I'm with you. I agree with that. I think Noble played extremely well against Bournemouth, a vintage Noble match.
Oh hell yeah!
Including getting what I thought was a very soft penalty, but I'll take it because we've had so many go against us over the years.
That was
but I mean,
all I could think of was the little clip of Noble where he's going.
Right.
Exactly. That was after Arsenal in the Payet season. I think it was like the season after the Payet season. He did a little. Yeah, it was soft. You know what? It didn't really matter. We were going to win that match anyway. But yeah, we've had him go against us like that. I didn't mind. You know the best part of
we had 2 in that because we got the penalty call and then we got Cresswell's red card rescinded.
That's right.
Yeah, so we got away with it.
Tackle. That was I don't care. All these commentators, all these soft commentators on Match of the Day and Premier League Goal Zone, whatever it's called, they all were saying, "Oh, that's a red card." It's not a red card. He got the ball.
That's just straight red. He comes in with his studs up. Yeah, you got to send him off for that. It's too close. Too close.
He did not make it. I'll tell you something. When I was watching the Palace match with Ken and what's his name, Jordan Ayew scored the winner for Palace. He was right on the edge of the penalty area, and we had Balbuena there, and I think Declan was there, and I remember there were 3 players there. Declan got kind of turned. Balbuena comes in with the weakest attempted tackle I've ever seen. Basically sticks his foot out, like a third grader. And Ken said something to me that made a lot of sense. He said, you can't really tackle a guy in that part of the pitch because he'll just go down and get a penalty.
Right. And
that's why they're all standing there like, what do we do? What do we do? Because he's right at the edge of the penalty area. If you make any contact with him, or if you get the ball and then make contact, even if it's a clean tackle, it's going to be a penalty. You know,
Right.
so
Right.
I thought that was a valid point. And I look at what Cresswell did, and I think, man, I mean, like Billy Bonds and Julian Dix just must laugh. They must throw their heads back and laugh when they even see a yellow card come out for that.
Well, look at today. I forgot what part of the game it was in, but Snodgrass comes in on a shoulder to shoulder at like the top of the box and just bulls this dude from Gillingham right over. And he looks at the rep. Like he's all incredulous about it. But to me, like that's that like Billy Bonds, that's that Julian Dix style of play.
Proper football. Yeah.
I love it. And I
do too.
I love that Moyes will probably stick with Snodgrass like all game, every game because of the Scottish connection. Like there's no way he's going to sub the Scott out. And I'm fine with it, man. He goes into battle.
They're going to go have some Glenfiddich and haggis after the match. And,
hell yeah.
Which I would probably do.
Yeah, right. And John's shout, man, Fabianski bailed us on multiple instances. I love David Martin, but I don't think he would have bailed the shots that Fabianski was able to save today.
He spared the blushes of the defenders, as they say in England. He spared a lot of embarrassment today because he was able to clean up a lot of messes that I thought we left behind defensively. He's like a real talisman for us. There's no doubt about that. There's no question about that. Do you guys want to do some hammers polls?
Yeah, sure.
All right, let's just remember. You know, while I'm setting this up, let me throw this out there quickly, and we can have a discussion on this first. For me, Hammer of the Year this season has been Ogbonna. I can't think of anybody else who's really been in that category. But do you think anybody else is sneaking up? Like, is Pablo Fornal sneaking up? Could he be Hammer of the Year by the end of the season if he continues playing the way he has? I think he could.
He could if you can get people to forget how he struggled entering the season. Because I think there were a lot of shouts that early on that, he's not good enough. He's not good enough. He shouldn't be he should be championship. He's not Premier League quality.
There were,
blah, blah, blah.
yeah.
So I think
you could also point to Pellegrini and say, but that was under Pellegrini. If he continues to develop under Moyes, I don't know. I mean, it sounds crazy, but you never know.
But shout that now. Think about, regardless of the manager, Ogbonna was still fantastic. It was very few games that Ogbonna really was lackluster. So I think that it probably lends more credit to him that regardless of who was, shouting from the touchline or sitting down and stroking a tie from the touchline, the ability to perform regardless is
he would still get my vote. Yeah, he would still get my vote.
He'd get mine too, especially if we did go with 3 in the back, because you'd have to put him central. And I think, the fact that he'd have to kind of be a quarterback back there, would just exemplify Hammer of the Year status. Because
in the center today, though,
I think because I feel like I saw Diop play too. I could be wrong, but I think
I'm with you. I would have put Diop in the center.
Yeah,
because you've got a little bit more speed with Diop and Balbuena than you do with Ogbonna. So
yeah, you're right.
Wally says Rice. He thinks Declan.
Ogbonna still has my vote for Hammer of the Year at this point.
Yeah.
I think if we can get competition from somebody else, it's good for the club. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, if Fornals was to get any kind of consideration, he have to start like banging in goals. Like the best way you forget about a slow start is to have an incredible finish.
Absolutely.
And if he was to, Haller right now was leading the team with 5 or 6. Something I think.
Yeah.
I mean, he'd have to probably get 10 in the last half of the season.
No.
Yeah, and it's unlikely from his position, but you're right. I think it'd take an exceptional effort. That's true. That's a good point. All right, so Tim, it appears we've already answered these, but don't let that sway you. Let's start with this first one. This is a little bit interesting to me. Of the names mentioned, which ex-player would you like to see come back into the coaching team? In case you can't read this, because I can't read it on the screen, but I can read it when I look at it on Twitter. So the choices are Stuart Pearce and Joe Cole. Of course, Stuart Pearce was with us previously. Joe Cole has very little coaching experience, but we know who he is. We know what he was for the club, and we know that he said on TV the other day the only 2 clubs he would leave his cushy media job for would be either West Ham or Chelsea. Yeah. So I don't know that either of these things is going to happen, but there's been rumors about both. What do you guys think? Stuart Pearce or Joe Cole? Do you have a preference?
Go ahead, Sal.
If I had to choose, I'd probably choose Joe Cole. I did vote for him on this.
Same.
Yeah, and I think it might be the fresh eyes thing. I think he loves the club genuinely. I don't think he would just say that just for fan service. And it'd be interesting too because I think he would be one of those guys talk about put a boot up somebody's ass. He would do it in the middle of the game. Like forget doing this in the locker room. Like come over here, stand here, shine my shoe for me,
Yeah.
please. And I think with some teams, I think you just need somebody like that. Somebody who is like I always go back to Klopp just because I really like how he coaches. Like he's a fan that's standing on the touchline.
Totally.
And I think Joe Cole would be that same way, but to the next degree, where if he sees anybody slacking, regardless if you're Mark Noble or record signing whoever, like you're going to hear about it because I think he would genuinely treat everybody the same. Because he knows how much it means to the fans.
Yeah, I feel so. I like that argument. What do you think, Liam? What do you think between the two of those guys?
Same. I voted Joe Cole. I know Stuart Pearce has been in them before, and this isn't taking anything against him. I think that he's fantastic motivator as well. But with Joe, I think he has the right mindset. And I don't know if you guys watched any of like the little video clips that West Ham puts out, but they put one out I think last year that was Aaron Cresswell and Mark Noble, and it's them asking questions to see like, oh, like how well do you know your best friend? They did one with Fredericks and Rice, I think earlier this year. But Mark Noble says that his role model at the club, like the player he looked up to the most, was Joe Cole. So I think if you've got somebody like a Mark Noble who I don't think that he's lost his way under Pellegrini, but would probably appreciate having that extra motivator to really help push the rest of the team. I think bringing in a Joe Cole gives you that extra little bit of motivation because he's going to want to perform in front of Joe. And then you've got, him hopefully training the next captain in Declan Rice. So I think it's a win-win situation. So yeah, I would have gone Joe.
Yeah, I think your arguments make a lot of sense. I probably feel the same way. I think Stuart Pearce would be a great addition to the coaching staff. What I like about
bring them both on.
Yeah, no, well, that'd be great. I mean, I'm not sure it has to be one or the other. I don't know how that's going to work, but what I like about Joe Cole is that he's young, relatively young. He really was playing for us like 4 or 5 seasons ago. You remember. Yeah. So that's why my Carlton Cole shirt has C. Cole on the back because Joe Cole was on the same team.
Still there. Yeah.
And
think about like right now, what's one of the biggest struggles that we have is a paired striker.
Yes.
And like you want to have success, you bring in King Joe Cole. Like he's going to help you figure out how to pair up your strikers. And he's not going to do it.
Boots on himself and go out there.
I think Pearce,
your mouth to God's ears, man.
seriously. I mean, I think Pearce would do a great job as he did in the past, and of course he's West Ham as well.
Yeah, of course.
I love the idea of a young, fiery Joe Cole getting experience with the club. I really do, and bringing him into West Ham and kind of taking him away from Chelsea and sort of bring him into our fold before they can get him. Because he was a bigger legend there than he was for us, obviously, but he still loves West Ham. You got to start with West Ham, who's an academy graduate and all that. So I would sort of like to claim him early on if that's possible. But
yeah.
All right, let's since we're talking about the FA Cup, and we all love the FA Cup. Next question, and maybe this will be the last one we do, but anyway, 32 teams left in the FA Cup. That's our odds are good. Northampton 9th in League 2, or the lowest ranked side, in the hat for Monday's draw. From which league would you like for West Ham to draw a team, and which team? And I don't care if you state your team or not. Premier League, Championship, League 1, League 2. Which one did you guys like to see? You want to see a big Premier League matchup, or is it just the obvious answer that we want Millwall? Or do we want Millwall? I mean, because that's tricky in and of itself.
So I always want Millwall. I always want Millwall. always.
So you're going with Millwall.
Always.
Okay. Well, that's fair. Fair.
Look, currently, I hate Tottenham the most, but it's not so much the team as it is the fans.
Yeah.
But I hate Millwall. To me, that is the matchup, man. I don't care how we got to get it, but I want Millwall.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
So for me, my answer is kind of a two-parter. I guess in reference to Millwall, I haven't been a fan long enough to really appreciate that because I've really only been a fan since 2013. when Gary Gaz, as you guys know him, took me to the Bowl Inn to watch them play a terrible game against Stoke and lose 1-0. But regardless of that,
Well, that's a good experience. So you got the real West Ham experience there. Yeah.
no. But anyway, so I would love to see him play Millwall just because I would like to watch that atmosphere on TV. If I had to answer this question, I would say the championship, and I would just say whoever we play, no matter what league it is, I just want it to be a home draw because I feel like every time we play in the FA Cup, we always get bumped out because we're always playing in these small little, League One, League Two sides where I think it would help us playing them where we play because, they'll see the bright lights, 60,000 fans, kind of thing during the headlights. I know that definitely helps, but just regardless who we play, I would like it to be at home, but I would want the championship just so we can kind of keep building that confidence because, funny enough, I was talking to Gaz about this today. He genuinely thinks our next draw is either going to be Liverpool, Tottenham, or Arsenal because, West Ham.
It's our luck. Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Plus,
well, see, the other thing to me is either that or the next draw is who are we talking about here? Northampton Town, and we lose.
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly why I wouldn't want to play League One or League Two because I don't want the frustration of losing to those guys. Plus, I mean, to be the best, you got to beat the best. So, I mean, that would make the Premier League my answer, but I would also like the championship as well because that's good competition as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we, League Two all day. I get this sentiment. I really do. I get this sentiment. Easiest run possible. Okay, I get that, and I'm with you. Except that I'm not sure that's the easiest run possible. I'm really not.
Especially if it's on the road.
We have struggled exactly. We've struggled so much against League One sides. We even struggled today a little bit with our top, basically our best 11, available anyway, or close to it.
Think about it in this regard too. Almost better to get the Premier League teams out of the way right now because they're more likely to field reserves teams. When you get later and later on in the rounds, they're going to play first team players. So if you're going to beat Arsenal, you're going to beat a Liverpool. Let's hope they trot out their reserves or their
Yeah, well, I think too it depends on who the team would be because it makes sense for Liverpool to do that because they're still Champions League and Europa League and what have you. Or I think they might have just recently got knocked out of Europa, but regardless, they're playing more than just Premier League and FA Cup. Whereas, let's say if you were playing, I don't know, let's say Arsenal or whoever, somebody who only other league is the FA, they might feel just as strong a team as they would any other Saturday or Sunday. So I think I definitely understand what you're saying, and that does make sense. But I think it's kind of a pick your poison. You have to get lucky with that.
But with Arsenal, think about that Arsenal game. You plug Moyes back in and Moyes' tactics. I think we win that game.
I think we're
losing 3-1.
Yeah.
So
what's funny?
I'll take their first team. Bring me Arsenal. We'll decimate them.
I think we lose if Pellegrini manages us today. I think we win if Moyes manages us against Arsenal. I feel the same way. The only reservation I have about Millwall, we always all want Millwall. I actually had, and I'm not going to tell the whole story right now, but when I was over to see the match at the Bowl Inn with Ken almost 10 years ago now, we had a little run-in with a Millwall supporter in a pub, and it was scary. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not a violent guy at all. It's not how I work. This dude was a legitimate skinhead, and he was scary, and he was not cool. You know what I mean? This was not cool. I was not ready to be Elijah Wood and, go steaming in with Bover and all the other guys from Green Street. That's not my thing.
Right.
Ken probably could have handled himself, but I don't think I could have. So anyway, we did. We had a run-in with the Millwall gentleman, and it was scary, and it made me really not like Millwall in a very personal way beyond just being a West Ham supporter. This was a real thing. So yeah, I do hate Millwall. I do. I hate Millwall and Chelsea more than anybody else, quite frankly, even more than Tottenham. But it's playing with fire in the FA Cup to play Millwall, in my opinion. Only because you don't. I mean, there will be riots. There will be crowd violence. There will be a pitch invasion, whether it's at the Olympic Stadium or at the Den, the new Den. It will happen. It'll happen. There will be some sort of punishment for both clubs. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt this is going to happen. And I just.
When was the last time they played? If anybody even.
There was a league.
Oh, wow.
League Cup match. Oh gosh, when was it, Liam?
So 2009 was the Upton Park riot. So that was like the big matchup. That was like where everything
we
hit
played
the
them in the
news.
championship after that. We played them in the championship after that. We had to have because we went down in 2011.
But weren't they in 2 when we went?
Oh,
Didn't they go
maybe,
down when we went down?
maybe they were.
I
Yeah,
think they dropped down 1 as well, and that's why everybody was like, "Oh, of course, we get relegated and we don't get Millwall." I'm trying to
Yeah.
think back, man. I think the last time was 09 because I was
think
about
you're right.
I was about 10 years in as a Hammer at that point, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what is this shit?"
By the way, this is Charlie. Is this Charlie? This is Charlie. That's who that is. That's Charlie.
Yeah, Charlie.
Oh, it's Charlie, of course. All right. Hey, Charlie. And yeah, we know you love Hugo. I don't.
Somebody has
I'm
to.
sorry. I still don't think he's good enough. He's a championship player. Anyway, in my opinion. Anyway, the thing about Millwall, yes, 2009's last game I can remember against Millwall. That's a long time ago. Now that I think about it. But yes, it was a riot. It was, it was not like what you got in the 70s, but it was pretty bad by today's standards. Then there were punishments for fans and punishments for the club. But it's just, you know what? Not to sound like an NFL coach, but it's a big distraction. It is. It's a big distraction to play a club like Millwall. It's great for the fans. I doubt the players like it. They probably hate it. They have to know that there's a security issue there. And I'll tell you something else. You may not even get a crowd in for that match. The FA may just say, we're going to play this behind closed doors because there's a history here.
Yeah.
It's
It's
they shut the
possible.
whole thing. They do this in France now. They just shut the whole thing down and say, you know what, you're going to play the match, but it's going to be behind closed doors. And that's it. That's how it's going to be.
And
They
you
may
were
do
rightly,
that.
it was 2012. So February 2012 was the last time we played.
Okay, so it
Millwall.
was in the
Oh,
championship.
Yeah,
Just
so it
missed
was it was a 2-1. Yeah, I maybe it's just so overshadowed by the 09 meeting.
The 09
I don't even
was the last
remember
one I
us
can
hitting them in
actually remember.
2012.
Yeah, because the 09 would went into extra time, and I think we scored twice in extra time.
Yeah.
I think we won 3-1, but it was like 1-1 at the end of 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, we played them in the championship. I don't remember there being massive problems there, but this FA Cup, I mean, there's going to be massive problems. There will be, and it's been years since we played them. It's been 8 years. I'm not saying I don't want them, but I'm saying that if we want to make an FA Cup run, I'm not sure it's the best match to play.
Yeah. Well, as it stands now, they're 1 point out of a playoff spot in the championship. They're on 40 points and they're behind Swansea.
Yeah, they're playing well. That's the other thing.
10 wins, 10 losses. I'm sorry, 10 wins, 10 draws, 6 losses.
They're not a bad championship team. Like they're on the playoffs. That's we know because we've been there. That's a tough division. You play all the time. I mean, just, 2 nights a week, match after match after match. The worst possible places in England you have to go.
Yeah,
true. Horrible grounds, horrible cities. So yeah. There would definitely be a riot outside, Wally. That's true. If we played, there'd be a riot out. There'd be a riot.
You have all the London police out there.
Yeah, there'd be a riot somewhere. I do agree with that. Again, yeah, sure. From a fan's perspective, bring it on. But is it the best for our actual FA Cup run? I'm not sure it is, personally. I think if we ended up with Leeds or if we ended up with Nottingham Forest, whoever's left, I don't know who's left in the championship. Yeah, that'd probably be okay with me. But you make a good point about, hey, why don't we go ahead and draw Liverpool and maybe they will start their under 16s and maybe we can at least get a replay with them. I don't know if we can beat their reserves or not, but we'd certainly stand a better chance than we would against their regular starting 11. So anyway, we'll have to see. It's tomorrow. We'll find out.
Yeah.
It's going to be just like the scene in Green Street when they draw Millwall. Everybody jumps up,
Everybody's losing it.
Because life is exactly like what happens on Green Street Hooligans. It's a very realistic.
Yes, it's a very accurate portrayal. You know what's crazy though? Yes. Lexi Alexander, the director of that film, she also directed Punisher Warzone.
Oh wow!
Yeah, dude.
What's the problem?
She does some violence. Well, she's like a black belt, like fully trained mixed martial artist. Like she teaches defensive, self-defense courses for women and whatnot. But she's still a Hollywood director. Like it's kind of legit, man. And she actually, the reason she did that movie was because like one of her close friends is a West Ham fan and like took her to a game and whatnot. And she saw that. And I want to say that movie came out before the 09 riots. So it's even crazy because it was like
Oh,
she almost
that
predicted
movie,
what
yeah,
would
that movie goes back to at least
Yeah.
6, I
Yeah, I
want to
think
say.
07. Yeah,
Yeah.
06, 07 for sure.
Because I had a whole bunch of friends in like the punk rock scene in New York that like very suddenly became West Ham fans. And I was like, hey man, cool. I have friends that I could talk to about this. And then like 2 years later, they were all gone. So.
If you brought, I mean, people in England, West Ham fans who are natives, they hate that movie. They hate the fact that people like that. I mean, I get it. The Firm is a great movie about hooligans. If you want to watch it,
Gary Oldman is a blessing in that movie, man.
That's a brilliant movie.
Bexy.
The Firm is a brilliant movie, made for the BBC, and it's only like an hour and 10 minutes long. Made for the BBC.
Quick.
Absolutely brilliant film. Really, really well done. And I think most West Ham fans would tell you that. I know West Ham fans from England hate Green Street Hooligans. I get why. You know what, though? It's brought a lot of people to the club in this country.
Mm-hmm.
It has. And I kind of don't care how they get here as long as they get here. So,
right.
Yeah.
The destination's the same. I don't care what. I mean, I do care. I like to hear people's journey, but at the end of the day, your destination's the same as mine.
At the end of the day, if you're willing to be one of us and put up with what we put up with, then this one I haven't seen. Cass, I need to see this actually because I've read his books. I've read his books. Yeah, his books are good.
So do you guys listen to A Casual Chat with Cass?
I haven't.
So he has a podcast, and it's just called A Casual Chat with Cass, and he just shoots the breeze with people. Like early on it was a bunch of like West Ham people and whatnot, and then now he kind of goes like he talked to Neil Primit, the guy that runs 80s Casual Classics. Like
that's awesome. Yeah.
It's a great listen. Like if you guys haven't checked it out, if you're a podcast listener, after you've listened to me on American Hammers Radio, by all means, go and check out Casual Chat with Cass.
After we listen to you, of course. And yes, Charlie's hoping we'll destroy the stadium.
Oh God, right?
We'll destroy the London Stadium.
If it's
Wally says he loved Tom Cruise in The Firm.
Why?
I forgot that movie even existed. When I think of The Firm, I don't think of that. I don't know. I never think of Tom Cruise anyway. Scientology and all that. But anyway, Cass Pennett's book. He wrote at least one. I think he wrote more than one, but I know I've read one of them, and it's really well done. I think he probably embellishes a little bit, but who cares? You get the feel that you're there. You know what it was like to be there, and
they did.
That's really what it's about.
What was it? The Football Factories. It's on Netflix.
Football Factory
by Danny Dyer.
Yeah, Danny Dyer. Yeah.
Just watched the first episode. He kicks it off with West Ham and he interviews Cass and what.
Well, he's West Ham. Yeah.
Well, he played at the Isle of Fight match that happened end of last season.
Yeah,
the charity match. Yeah, he was like his kit went for like 120 pounds or 140 pounds. It was nuts.
Danny Dyer. He's like a little embarrassing to me for some reason. I don't know why. He's a little too commercial, but I like Cass Pennant. I think Cass Pennant's legit. I do. And I'm not saying I condone hooliganism. Again, I'm not a violent guy, but there's something I like about Cass. He has a confidence about him. And I think, the way he rose through the ranks at West Ham, the way he did, especially
at the time frame that he
as a person of color in the 1970s and 80s.
No.
And I don't care if it was being a hooligan. That's huge. The respect he earned for whatever reason
that he still has,
and the fact that he's turned himself into an author and a podcaster and a filmmaker. He made a movie about I don't think I ever saw it, but about a young woman in Leicester in the 80s. Can't remember the name of it. Anyway, look it up. It's out there. He's done some good stuff with himself, and I like him. So Danny Dyer, on the other hand, is a little more. I don't know. It's like Russell Brand. I just don't like it.
Well, yeah, right. It's like when you see the picture of Katy Perry in like the West Ham Teddy, and you're like, "Come on now."
Yeah, I don't mind that all that much.
Well, but it's for a different reason that you don't mind it, Lee.
No, but I mean, I don't like Russell. I know I look like Russell Brand, but I don't like Russell Brand. He's just not funny to me. I don't know why. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do anything for me. I'd like to like him because he's West Ham, but he makes me cringe. Anyway, yeah, he did, but he also,
hell yeah,
he's more than that. He turned out to be a guy who really had some, intellect behind, what he was doing. So, and he tells good stories. Anyway, so we're gonna wrap up here pretty soon. Friday afternoon, I hate weeknight games. I hate them so much.
I'm off on Friday though. I'm good.
Well, I just took 2 whole weeks off of work, so I doubt I'll be leaving early on Friday afternoon, but maybe. One of my kids will be sick,
Yeah,
you know how that goes. Friday afternoon, Sheffield United, 3:00 in the afternoon. Eastern time. It's a nationally televised game. We're away to them. I think we drew with them 1-1. Snodgrass scored, and then we gave up a goal about 10 or 15 minutes later in the opening fixture. So the return fixture is there. Again, we always do this. There's no reason to do it. We have no starting 11s. We don't know who's injured, who's whatever. But off the top of your head, who do you think wins? What do you think score is? Anybody can start. I don't care who starts.
Ooh, I think this one's tough, man, because that John Joe Shelby dude is that's my pick, man. If I could pluck somebody right now from like those mid-table teams, I think he's got that noble bite.
I think you're thinking Newcastle. I don't think John Joe Shelby plays for Sheffield.
Oh, he doesn't.
No, he plays for Newcastle.
That's Newcastle.
Oh, okay, then yeah, I'm way off on it.
Shelby plays for Newcastle. You're right, but
okay, yeah.
We have some good players though. I mean, they were ahead of us in the table. I mean,
no, they are, and the last matchup against them, because that was that 1-1 draw, right?
Yeah, that was the last time we got points before Chelsea, before Chelsea, I think.
Yeah.
So I think with that one, it was definitely. I mean, I like to use the term cagey, right? Where it's. I think both teams kind of go out trying to prove something, especially like for them trying to stay that mid-table, trying to creep up the rankings. I mean, they're trying to pull a Wolves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this is a team that they made their way up. They want to stay up. So I know that they're going to battle as much as possible. But I think that we are on momentum right now, and I think that even with us being an away match. I still think that we're going to take it. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be like a 1-0 or like a 2-1. I don't think we're going to have like what we had against Bournemouth. I don't think we're going to just be, knocking them in left and right. But
I the worst team in the Premier League right now. So
yeah. So I think that we will we'll go in with confidence. I think it will be a fight, but I see us coming out with a win.
What do you think, Sally?
It's going to be a fight for sure. Man, I'm looking at their fixtures right now. Their last like 2 losses, because they played Man City and Liverpool back to back, both on the road, and that sucks.
That's brutal.
December 29th to January 2nd, 2-0, 2-0 to both. But I don't know. I mean, I was nervous playing them even to get at the London Stadium because their away record is so fantastic. Yeah. I think there was one point on the road, and I think we talked about this offline once, that they hadn't lost on the road since like almost a calendar year ago. But that being said, I don't know. I think it might be kind of like today. First half is more so fill yourself out. You might get lucky off of a header or just a really nice, shot from distance. But man, I don't know. That's tough. But like I said, we have confidence going into it. They're coming off of 2 straight league defeats. They haven't won in the league since December 21st against Brighton.
Yeah. Which was a 1-0. So
1-0. Yeah. But they've also been able to they have a lot of 2-0, 2-something, couple 3-goal games. So we're gonna have to bring it regardless, because I mean they're top table, second highest United in the table, I think, right now. So their fans are going to be crazy. They got nothing to lose. FA Cup is.
They hate us because of the Tevez thing. They really hate us.
The Tevez, the Derby, yeah. So I mean, they got some from us here. So hopefully these guys will go and be motivated. But I don't know if I can say who wins just yet. But it's going to be tough. Fun to watch, though, I feel.
Yeah, I think we play a little bit better away from home generally than we do at home. I know that wasn't the case for Bournemouth, so maybe that's not going to be the case for Moyes. I don't know. But our away form has been slightly better, which gives me some hope. And their away form has been slightly better, which gives me some hope as well, because they're playing at home. I really like the role we're on right now, which, the most West Ham thing possible would be for us to go out and lose this thing 3 or 4-0, right? Because we've got momentum, and that can't last. I hate picking us to win. And I would certainly take a draw out of this game.
Yeah. Oh, easy.
But I would not be opposed to. I think we could nick like a 2-1. I do. I really do. I think it's going to. You're right. I think it'd be cagey. Don't think we're keeping a clean sheet in this one. But I feel as though it's going to come down to a late goal, one way or the other, in a 1-1 game. And I'm hoping that it's Fornals or somebody who maybe has come in as a substitution. I don't think Antonio is going to be healthy, but. I'm hoping that we're the ones to get it. So I think it's possible we could take 3 points out of this. And I think it'd be a gigantic 3 points, actually. Not only
Yeah.
need
Now,
it.
this game, obviously Sheffield, and the one after that is Everton at home. I
yeah,
mean, it'd be nice to get 6 points out of that because after that we play Leicester
Yeah.
and then Liverpool. I mean, we have Brighton in between, but then we have Man City and Liverpool. So after Everton, that's that is tough. So we got to get points where we can right now, and so 3 will be great. I'll take 1 as well, but as long as we don't come out with nothing.
I think I agree. I think if we come out with nothing, it's a huge problem, and you're going to see the fans go after Moyes again. I think we get at least 1. I do. I think we get something out of this. I do. I think if he can impress on our players that they're desperate for 3 points, we have seen them even under Pellegrini. We've seen them beat Chelsea, and we've seen them beat Southampton when they absolutely had to have 3 points to stay above the relegation zone. They did go out and do it.
Mm-hmm.
If Moyes can institute, which he seemed to do against Bournemouth, that kind of mentality where he says, hey, you have to win this match. This is your season on the line. I think our team is capable of doing it, especially under him. So I expect something out of this match, whether it's a point or 3 points. I honestly don't think we'll lose, which means we'll be back here on Sunday of next week inevitably talking about how we lost.
Right.
Bitching and moaning.
Well, at least at that point we can talk about the cup draw. So, that's something else to talk about.
All about, because I am all about the FA Cup. I don't care if it was a League Two team. That is our trophy. It's been 40 years. We got to get Mark on the trophy, and I think this is the season to do it. I do.
Come on, we've got the kits that are like the memorial of the 1980 win. Like, how are you not going to go for it on that anniversary?
That's what I'm saying. You have to. We have to make a run. I mean, 40 years without a trophy. Well, unless you count the Intertoto or the
the Betway Cup.
Yeah,
I was telling my wife about, like, the last real cup that we were holding is when we got promoted back out of
third place in the second division. Yeah,
and she's like,
the trophy. I'll never get over the size of that trophy. It was huge.
It was massive. It was a great trophy. It looked stellar. Just when you think about what came behind it, you're kind of like, oh well. All right, little bit of tarnish on that silver.
That was such a great day, though. I love that day. I loved that day. I love it so much.
The parade afterwards, man, where they're like just ear to ear grins, like, it's awesome.
It's just brilliant, and because we finished third in the second division, it's just this fantastic West Ham celebration. I was thinking the other day, I don't think West Ham won Intertoto Cup in 1999, and if I'm not mistaken, there were 3. Intertoto Cup was given to 3 clubs every season.
Yeah.
And then they advanced into what is now Europa League, used to be UEFA Cup. But Intertoto was like a summer competition, and it ended at the end of the summer. And then your reward was you got into UEFA Cup. Because San Etienne won it 1 year too. But I don't think it exists anymore, Intertoto. I don't think it's around.
No.
And then of course the only European trophy West Ham ever won was the Cup Winners' Cup in 1965, and that hasn't been around for 20 some odd years. So all these trophies we win disappear off the face of the earth. They cease to exist. So the last one we won that actually still exists is the 1980 FA Cup. So I think 40 years is long enough to go out and get a proper trophy for first place. So we'll talk about the draw no matter what. But anyway,
2008. Intertoto got abolished in 2008.
Okay, I was going to say I remember Saint Etienne winning it like when I lived in France, which was in the mid 2000s, and then it abolished. So that's about right. About 12 years.
I feel like that one just kind of quietly faded away. You know what I mean? Like that was just one of those customs. Like
the games were in like July.
Yeah.
The games were in like July and August.
Yeah,
they started
preseason.
Yeah, no, they were. It was like preseason because I remember when I moved to France. I moved to France in July of 2001. And of course, it's the closed season for football. But then there were games on like 2 weeks later. I was like, "What is this? Oh, it's some like team from Moldova versus a team from Estonia or something." It's like, "Oh, that's the Intertoto Cup." So
it was like the Chinese Cup that we were just doing in the preseason this last.
The Premier League Asia Cup or something. Yeah,
where you're like,
all
right, this is a what? Oh, we didn't win it.
Or the Betway Cup. Oh man, or the Falcon Cup. I'll never forget. Tim will laugh at this if he's still watching. When he was running the semi-pro club in Lowell, we had a coach. I won't mention the guy's name. There's no reason to. He was not a very good coach. And he took the team to a preseason tournament at a local college. And the team won the tournament. And it was like there were like 4 teams in the tournament. And we won the tournament. And it was kind of a dodgy thing where we like had 2 draws or something. Everybody else had a loss, So we come up with the Falcon Cup. And that season we didn't win any games at all. And then in the NPSL, lost like 11 and drew 1 out of 12 games. I think that was it. And I remember the coach saying, "Well, no matter how we do this season, at least we'll have the Falcon Cup."
Yeah, right.
Oh, where is the Falcon Cup today? Who knows?
Well, that's just like Wigan, right? I mean, winning the FA and then getting relegated right after.
I mean, at least they won a proper trophy. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's just funny. Yeah,
but it's funny because they did. They won the FA Cup. They beat Manchester City in that huge upset.
Yeah,
And,
Zabaleta got a red card, which immediately led to a corner that they won off of.
What John says is true. The Cup Winners' Cup is now part of Europa Cup because you do get into it by winning a cup competition. So yes, this is true. But it used to be a whole separate competition where you won your cup competition and then you got into a knockout, And I thought it was great, and I wish it still existed. But anyway, it doesn't. It's now been folded into Europa League, so that we can have group stages and everybody can have more advertising on the boards and everything else.
Yeah.
And Heineken can sell some more beer around the world. Anyway, so yeah, Liam and Sally. My boys go back to school tomorrow. I gotta go do stuff. I gotta go make lunches and do stuff. I haven't done this stuff in weeks. I've forgotten what to do.
Nice.
Anyway, I want to thank you guys for being with us. Both of you in California. You got the whole night ahead of you. You got nothing to do for it's like 7:30 at night.
No, I got to go downstairs and grab my daughter so my wife can get a break. So that's what I get to do tonight.
I hear you. How old is she?
3 months as of yesterday.
Oh, wow.
Yesterday she was 3 months old. So I got my 5-year-old was playing Rocket League with my best friend in New York. So they were on. I had my cell phone on speaker so he could talk to my buddy, and they played Rocket League. And then I jumped up. That's why I was late because I was trying to get them situated while I was running upstairs. And then now I got to go relieve my wife so she can get a break without staring daggers at me too bad.
Oh man, I understand. I feel you. I do totally feel you on that one. All right. Well, Liam and Sally, thank y'all for being with us. We will be back next Sunday night. I think there's a show tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Tim usually does something tomorrow at 8 on Mondays at 8. Then I'll be back on Wednesday night with, I think we have a guest on Wednesday night. I think we're bringing back a guest again. So we're going to start bringing back some guests. Again, thanks everybody for 1,000 subscribers. That's really huge.
Yay!
And, when you see me next week, I will be drinking out of a gold engraved chalice, a diamond encrusted chalice, with an authentic signed Trevor Brooking 1980 West Ham game worn cup final shirt with all the money, money that we've made from our 1,000 subscribers.
Right.
I love it. I feel like
with the same computer.
Well, I'm glad that,
always with the same computer. Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Yeah,
I'm glad that you and Tim committed to getting those for all of us. So I'm excited to get mine in the mail.
Oh yes,
that's right.
Yes, you'll be getting an authentic game worn 1980 West Ham Trevor Brooking shirt. There's we'll send 8 or 10 of them around.
I dig it.
All right, thanks you guys for being with us. Thanks for everybody in the chat room. It's great to see you. Always good to hear from you. Until later this week. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.